Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I thank have inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well, and I will have links below this video to their sites. They are Rabbi Shalom Arish, Rabbi Eliezer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansur, Rabbi Lon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rav Daniel Asore, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobach, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Ashir, Rabbi Ron Uvain, and Rabbi Yosef Chesney as well. If you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link below this video to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the soul means, what it stands for, what I'm doing. And just a side note, this video is being posted a couple of days before the night I normally do is Motzei Shabbat, but this week is going to be Tisha B'Av, but BeEzrat Hashem maybe it won't be, and Mashiach will just come, so Meher B'Yamenu, and then we won't have to fast. But Chas v'Shalom, that doesn't happen. I'm still posting this a couple of days early because probably no one will get to look at that then, so you're not supposed to learn Torah anyway on Tisha B'Av. So just so you know, if you have a chance to check out the video beforehand, otherwise you could check it out after Tisha B'Av. So this is on Parshas Ve'etchanan or Ve'eschanan, depends how you pronounce it. And this is also from Rabbi Yosef Chesney. And I call this the only one who can help us. So this is Rabbi Yosef Chesney telling this. So the whole thing is from him, but just so you know, it's not my story. So a few years ago, there were three bachurim, which is three boys, young boys from Eretz Yisrael, who were traveling with a stopover in Japan. They had taken a package for someone. Unbeknownst to them, it contained illegal drugs. Unfortunately, they were caught by the Japanese authorities and were held accountable for their act. The boys were locked up until the day of their respective trials. The askanim, and I don't know how you explain that, maybe it's the lawyers, I don't know what that means, but got to work. They hired the best lawyers to defend them. So they're not the lawyers, so I don't know who they are, but what that means, sorry. To defend the first to be judged and to implore the court for lenience for his action was committed due to his naivete. It was to no avail. The court found him guilty. The day of the second Bachur's trial arrived. This time the Askanim hired even better lawyers, but it was to no avail. He was found guilty as well. By the time the third Bachur's trial arrives, the Askanim, and you can look that up yourself if you want, it's A-S-K-A-N-I-M, that's phonetic, I don't know it's probably a Hebrew word, realized there was nothing to do. They knew better than to waste precious funds on legal fees. Thus, the boy came to court with a mediocre lawyer. Miraculously, the court handled his case with more lenience. When this Bachur was later asked why he thought his case was handled better, he replied, "By the time my case was judged, it was clear that Hashem was the only one who could help me. As a result, I placed my hope only in Him, and thusly I merited a salvation." So when we realize that Hashem is the only one, I put it in capital here, they don't, but who can help us, we merit salvation. Sometimes it's clear that it is Hashem who is our only provider. Most times, however, it appears as if there are other places to turn to. We must realize that the world is but a mirage. In reality, Hashem is always the only one who can help us. And if you ever heard the expression in Aramaic, Alma de Shikra, the world of lies too, so that's another thing. What can we do to ingrain this true perspective of the world into our hearts? The Torah gives us a great tool to assist with this mission. It's called tefillah. Tefillah is davening. But I think he explained the word a different way. I thought maybe he did here. Okay, but maybe not. Okay, so numerous times a day, we turn to Hashem and tell Him our needs. Why must we do this? Doesn't Hashem already know what we need? So the Mabit offers a phenomenal answer. He says that the purpose of davening is not to inform Hashem of our needs. Rather, it is to ingrain in our hearts that Hashem is the only one who provides us with our needs. Just the same way, like they say when we do mitzvahs, Hashem doesn't need our mitzvahs, doesn't need our prayers. It's for us to realize that we're doing His will. That's what we have to do. So that's why we do mitzvahs. So a younger man, and I don't know how to explain that either, so you can look that up if you want to, Yungerman, told the following personal tale. I was living in a 3-bedroom basement with a handful of kids for a number of years. One day, my 4-year-old Rifki noticed a new house coming up across the street. She excitedly came home and announced that when the house is finished, she wants us to move there. I knew that derech hateva, which means according to nature, this was unlikely. The construction was being contracted by someone who was planning on moving there. Yet I am Mechanech, I'm teaching my kids with the yesodot of bitachon and tefillah. Thus, I told Rivki, Hashem could do anything. Bitachon is trust, and tefillah is prayer, anything. So Hashem could do anything. We just have to trust in Him and daven for Him to give us the house. Rivki took my words to heart. For the next few months, she davened daily for Hashem to give us the house. And don't forget, this is a little kid. What did they say? 4 years old. Amazing, right? Well, they say that the purity of the children is what really touches Hashem's heart, so to speak. It doesn't have a heart, but meaning because they're so pure. When they daven or when they learn, it's so pure. Us, when we're adults, there's already so many other conflicts going on, and things aren't as pure. So, anyway, so she davened for the house. Meanwhile, the construction dragged on and on. It took longer than planned, and the one who it was contracted for lost his patience and informed them that he would not be taking it. At that same time, I was looking for a house to move into. I called a developer to discuss some options. He mentioned that the house across the street from me was available. Lo and behold, Rivki's tefillos were answered and we moved into that house. So when something falls into our lap, we don't always realize where it came from. When we daven for something and then we get it, we recognize that it is straight from Hashem. Sometimes one tefillah is not enough to teach us this lesson. But after davening for it for weeks, the message hits home. Moshe Rabbeinu implored Hashem to be permitted to enter the Holy Land. From his tefillah, we learn how to daven. He begins by stating, Ata hachlota v'chulei. You have begun to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For what power is there in the heavens or on the earth who can perform acts that compare to your acts and your mightiness? So this was the introduction to his request. The Rashba b'Perashei HaHaggadot Barachos Lamed Beis Ayin Beis says that we learn from here that there are 3 prerequisites to tefillah. So pay attention to this. This is good. So the first one is that we should recognize that we don't deserve anything based on merit. We are asking for Hashem to give it out of pure kindness. Thus we learn from Moshe stating, you have begun, as well as by him saying, your servant. A servant is not owed anything for his service. Now the second prerequisite is to daven with the realization that Hashem has the wherewithal to fulfill our request. This was demonstrated by Moshe mentioning Hashem's might, because he said that compared to your acts and your mightiness. And then thirdly, a petitioner must recognize that Hashem is the only one who can fulfill his request. For this reason, Moshe mentioned that there is no other power in heaven or earth than can perform deeds like Hashem's. So he said in there in the pasuk. So for what power is there in the heaven or the earth who can perform acts? So those are the 3 things. So the Rashba concludes with a fascinating observation. He says that this is the purpose of the first 3 brachos of Shmona Esrei. The first mentions Gomel Chasadim Tovim, imbuing us with the perspective that what Hashem bestows is pure kindness and we're not asking based on merit. The second bracha emphasizes Hashem's power, imbuing us with the realization that Hashem has the wherewithal to fulfill our request. The third bracha highlights how all the spiritual energies praise Hashem. This imparts us with the message that there is no other way of having our wish fulfilled. Only after these 3 introductions can we say our request. The root of the word, now it actually talks about what I said about daven, about tefillah. So the root of the word mitpalel is pei lamed lamed, like pilal or palel, I don't know, it's not really, you don't really pronounce it, but it's pei lamed lamed, which also means judgment. What is the connection between davening and judgment? The answer is, judgment is an assessment to uncover the true reality of what happened. I'll say that again. Judgment is an assessment to uncover the true reality of what happened. This is what tefillah is about. It is to reassess the world to gain the true perspective of what is really happening. To come to the realization that everything that we get is straight from Hashem. Rav Shalom Mordechai Rubashkin relates the story of his freedom from jail. It was Rosh Chodesh Teves. I was in my cell, this is him saying it, I was in my cell singing Hallel when the warden summoned me. He gave me an envelope that informed me that my appeal to the court had been declined. That was from the last president, and that's why. You can figure that out yourself. This was my final appeal. After this, there was no more hishtadlus. How do you explain hishtadlus? When he was effort. that could be done to shorten my sentence 27 years, which definitely he didn't deserve. So most people would have been dejected from such news, but as a believing Jew, I was excited. I recognized that now there was nothing left to do. Hashem would definitely come and show his salvation openly. So see, they say, at the end, where we're reaching in the end of days, the expression, there's no one to rely on or to be connected to is but Hashem. So when you think it's coming from somewhere else, in the end it's not coming. It's never coming from somewhere else. It's always coming from Hashem. So why, in a way you think, why do I have to waste my time on Ishtadlus for my Parnasa, for my this, for my that? Because in the end it's coming from Hashem anyway, but it's kind of like a fake thing. We have to make it look like we're putting in an effort, but in the end we always have to realize once we put in our Ishtadlus and say, I did what I could, but now I know it's actually coming from you anyway. So that's what he did. So what happened? Amazing. It was the very next day. See, as soon as he decided that there was nothing left to do, that Hashem would help him, he put it in Hashem's hands. So Hashem was saying, okay, here's what's going to happen. So it was the very next day that I was summoned to the office and was informed that President Trump, see, because that was the previous one, who didn't want to do anything for him. I think, don't quote me, maybe I'm not saying it right, but I think that's what happened. Had commuted my sentence. This was clearly a miracle straight from the Creator. When we come to the realization that Hashem can help us and that He is the only one that can, we merit salvation. And I hope and pray that we all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen, and thanks for watching.